Rarely does one leave Las Vegas with Lady Luck on their side, but even the Bears hit blackjack, 7-Eleven, roulette, the slot jackpot, you name it. Josh Blackwell coming up with the winning hand, protecting the Bears' win over the Raiders yesterday. Let's bring in Danny Parkins, part of Fox Sports 1's First Things First every day, 4 to 5 Chicago time. He joins us. And Danny, all right, I want you to be honest with me here, buddy. Stephen Carlson lines up 54-yard field goal. And what is running through Danny Parkins' mind?
Yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be another losing trip to Las Vegas, like I've had so many times in my life before. You know, the Bears, I think, for all of our lives, the vast majority of the time, have figured out ways to, snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. And it was nice to be on the other side of that. It was nice to have one of those things go their way, especially headed into the bye week, because now, all right, you're 2-2. You can exhale a little bit. Feel like you maybe blew the first game and stole the fourth game, so you're right where you're supposed to be. And, the season is still alive, so to speak.
Yeah, you said last week on this show that if the Bears can find a way to beat Vegas, it would tell us that this team didn't rest on its laurels after that Cowboys win. They're 2-2. You still feel that way, the way you felt last week?
Yeah, listen, I mean, it wasn't the prettiest game, but I think the thing is here, this is not a Super Bowl team, but Ben Johnson has said they're going to be playing their best ball in December. We know it's a complicated system. We know he's trying to do a culture change, and we know that's going to take time, but it's a really talented roster with an expectation of winning sooner than later. So, it would have been very disheartening if they would have been 1-3 headed into the bye, feeling like they were really swimming upstream for the playoffs. Are they more likely than not to miss the playoffs? Yeah, by a little bit, but it's close. Like, there's a real chance, and things are starting to break their way a little bit, right? Like, they will be coming into that game against Washington out of the bye. Washington is hurt, and Washington is playing a Chargers team that's got one of the best defenses in the NFL. And, we'll see how healthy the Commanders are 2 weeks from today. Then you play Cincinnati in a couple of weeks. Obviously, there's no Joe Burrow, so that game is easier now than it was when the schedule came out. So, things really broke wrong for the Bears last year. I thought they were better than a 5-win team. Not much, but they were probably better than a 5-win team, 7 or 8-win team. Maybe this year they can get a little lucky.
I like the way you're looking ahead, and you brought up culture change. I want you to listen to Kevin Byard in the winning locker room yesterday.
Let me get a little Kevin Byard action. Coach said it the other week. The book on this team is that if we get the game close, we was going to lose. Mm-hmm. And what the we do today? That's the culture win, fellas. Yeah. We talk about changing the culture. That's how you do it, fellas. Let's go into this bye week, man. Let's get this going, baby.
Danny, were the Bears more lucky yesterday than good, or is the culture really starting to change around this team? And I know we're only 4 games in, but I think there's a pretty good feeling already, right?
Yeah, but listen, there's definitely a good feeling, and it's too soon to tell, right? They easily could blow a game against Washington in 2 weeks, and we'll be like, where is that culture? The NFL is such a week-to-week league that it's tough to make declarative forever statements about something like that. But what I liked about that from Byard was that clearly Ben Johnson knows what he's up against. Like, he's very aware of what happened before him. He will say, I'm not here to talk about the past. Last year is last year. Like, I heard him say that, some variation of that 17 times during the preseason and OTAs and mini camps and all of that. But right there from Byard, that shows you that, no, he's 100% dialed in. He knows what the reputation was and has been for a long time, and that he is tasked with changing it. So does like one win against Geno Smith in Vegas, where there were 40% Bears fans there, like, does one win change the culture? No, of course not. But I thought that it was a step in the right direction, and it was good that just everyone's kind of aware that this isn't just about figuring out the quarterback. This is about really changing the guts and the bones and the structure of what's going on over there at Hallis Hall.
Before I dig into Ben Johnson, I want to talk about Tyrique Stevenson because, man, it wasn't long ago. There were calls for the Bears to maybe cut Tyrique Stevenson after the first 2 games. I mean, the quarterback rating against Stevenson was ridiculous. The last 2 games, ever since then, this kid has played some of the best football he has played in the NFL. Were you ready to give up on him after those first 2 games?
No, I mean, and it's easier to say now than if you would have asked me maybe after the second game. I think people can be a little impulsive on that. Tyreek also had, he had the signature bonehead moment of last year where he's taunting the crowd in the Washington game, and then the tipped interception, or the tipped Hail Mary lands in his guy's hands for the touchdown, and it was a terrible look. And Matt Eberflus didn't discipline him correctly, and it was the moment that kind of made that season unravel. So he needs to have a lot of great plays and great moments in order for that not to be his defining, characteristic and the emblematic thing of his career with the Bears. But he's a really talented player. And so, he was bad the first couple of weeks. He's been better since. Obviously, Jalen Johnson's out, so he's now QB1 on this team. There's not exactly Justin Jefferson over there. So, again, I don't know that he's a cornerback 1 for, the rest of the league. I'd much rather him be the second corner on this team. But you don't give up on guys with that much talent, and hopefully he can now start stacking good games because they really, really need him.
All right, speaking of guys with a ton of talent, did the Bears for the second straight week win because of Caleb Williams?
Yeah, I think that's safe to say. Not solely because of Caleb Williams, and Caleb was not great. Like if you get 3 takeaways in the first half and you get the ball inside of the 25-yard line for your opponent on all 3 of them, and you come away with 6 points, even if one of those interceptions was like a super freak of nature play by Max Crosby, who's a top 10 defensive player in the world, like the quarterback bears some responsibility there. But what I've been impressed with was the last 2 weeks now, Caleb has gotten better as the game has gone on. Whereas at the beginning of the year, it was, man, he's really good on Ben Johnson's scripted plays, and then it's starting to fall apart. So to me, like, that is a tangible sign of progress that he can get the ball back, 6 minutes left, needing a touchdown. They only had 1 touchdown earlier in the game. There's a false start penalty, on Kmet. So it's not like everything goes perfectly on the drive. And he moves them down the field and gets the ball into the end zone. And so it was not solely because of Caleb Williams, but I thought the encouraging thing now is that once they get out of the scripted plays, he has still been able to put together, time-consuming, ball-moving, and ultimately scoring drives late in games.
Have you seen Cole Kmet have a worse game?
No, that was a rough one. That was a rough one with the penalties, the
missed
drop.
Blocks, yeah.
That was not a good game for Cole, and it's unfortunate because I think a big part of the reason they drafted Loveland, I don't think it was really to move on from Kmet. I think it was that Ben Johnson wanted the versatility of 2 tight ends. If you go big, then he'll pass. If you go small, then he'll run. And neither Loveland nor Cole have really been able to produce consistently yet. It's been disappointing.
He looked like his head just wasn't in the game. I hope he's okay and it's not something away from football. What's worse,
Yeah.
Bears run defense or their own run game?
Oh, man. I think it's got to be the run defense at this point, right? Like, the run game was not good, but at least it had moments of life, and Swift gets the touchdown late, and they were able to grind out some positive runs like on that last drive with 6 minutes left, like I talked about. That was, I saw the numbers going around. It had been since the early 2000s that the Bears won a game where they allowed over 200 yards of rushing, and it had been since the 70s since they had won a game where they allowed over 250 yards of rushing. So, they won that game in spite of their run defense. And I think the concerning part there is what's the fix? Like, what's the solve that's like, I buy that as the Bears get more cohesive on the offensive line and get more familiar with what Ben Johnson wants to do. Like, I buy that the run game can improve over the course of the year. I'm not really sure what the fix would be for the run defense over the course of the year.
I'm with you, man. I think it's awful. And it's not just yesterday. Man, it has not been good since 2023. And
right.
Tremaine Edmonds isn't suddenly going to become some run stuffer out there. You are what you are. I don't know what the Bears do with 13 games still left on the schedule. They're going to get T.J. Edwards back and Kyler Gordon, but really, are they going to be that much better? Those guys were around last year and the run defense stunk.
Yeah, TJ Edwards will help. Kyler Gordon is obviously a nice player, but that's more, he's a good blitzer, and that's more just for cornerback depth and your nickel corner spots for the passing game. So, Edwards will certainly help. But listen, this is not a complete team. This is a flawed team. And, Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson are going to have some real decisions to make on what they use of their draft capital. Like, are they going to take a swing at left tackle? Or are they going to, invest more into the beef of the defensive line? Because Pickens and Dexter and those guys have not obviously Sweat. It's been disappointing. Their front seven against the run. There's no question. But again, we knew this team was going to have holes, and that's one of the biggest ones.
Perfect time for the bye, right?
Yeah, normally early buys are bad because it's about health. And so you want buys later in the year so that you can maybe get a little bit of freshness for the closing stretch and the playoffs and all that. But I think for an injured Bears team that also really needs to learn what Ben Johnson wants to do more, like I would look at this as, forget scouting Washington, leave that to the coaches. This is self-scouting, an extension of training camp, and being able to go over with actual game film, hey, this is where we can get better across the board, because none of this, other than when you played Dallas's defense, really none of this has looked easy for the Bears, even in victory. So plenty of areas to self-improve.
All right, you and I will scout Washington next Monday. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, because I know you're a Cubs fan and Craig Counsell's your guy. What's going to happen this week with the Cubs and Padres?
Man, what a blow the Horton injury is. Who knows what you were going to get out of him in the playoffs, but I wanted to see it. I think this will be a great test for Counsell. Just, he's in the playoffs first time as the Cubs skipper, and they're very banged up, and can he get them to overachieve a little bit and go on a run with the randomness of October? So hopefully this is the start of a many-year stretch of the Cubs playing into October. But I don't know, man. Here's the thing with baseball. Baseball playoffs are a crapshoot. If you're going to tie the room together with your Vegas analogy at the start, like you play the 162 to have a shot in October for some randomness. So maybe they'll get hot. I honestly don't feel great about the vibes heading into this thing, but weirder things have happened because it's October baseball.
Hey, Danny, don't forget, you're in New York. It could be worse. You could be a Mets fan, right?
That's right. That's exactly right. And now the Cubs need to, maybe a Cubs-Yankees World Series, and I could see the Cubs out here and be a road fan. That would be great.
I love it. Have a great week. We'll talk to you next Monday.
Sounds good, Lou.